Well, markers are a good way to suggest materials in ideation sketches, but it's not easy. You're not going to get photorealistic results out of a marker. So let's take a look at a couple different ways that we can imply matte or glossy finishes using markers and pens. So I looked around the house and I found some sunscreen and then some other kind of makeup-y something that my wife had. And I thought I would use kind of that tube design as a basis for, seeing if we can achieve a matte and glossy finish with markers. So I'm going to kind of draw out two tube designs at the same time, side by each, and they'll each one have a different cap on them, right? So we're looking at components of the tube. You have on one will be kind of a screw off cap, very standard, and one will have a flip cap. And so I'll shake it up. I'll do like a matte tube and a shiny cap, and then I'll do a shiny tube with a satin or matte cap as well. So I'm just sketching out the designs right now. It's very straightforward, really emulating the tubes that I have in front of me here around the house. And so let's see what happens. So I'm working in layers. I'm adding a little bit of line weight, more or less just for definition of the product. And that's going to give me the boundaries that I need for applying marker. Again, you can see I'm not using any ellipse guides for this. I'm just using the technique that I've used in several videos that you've seen where I'm kind of coming in from each side of the ellipse. I'm evening things out and I'm allowing the user to kind of connect the lines. I don't feel the need to, at least at this point, to really connect those lines. I'm going to come in later, you'll see, with French curves, and I will kind of beef up some of the final line weight with just a French curve and not an ellipse guide. Those stinking ellipse guides can get really expensive. The French curves are very inexpensive. You can pick those up, a set of 6 or 7 French curves can be really affordable. So that's a good way to go. So here I'm applying uniformly between the two directions, right? They look fairly the same, both the matte and the glossy, but it's going to be, this is an undercoat. On the second coat right now will be applied differently. So on the left, the matte side, I'm applying the yellow marker in a very uniform manner across, but you can already see where the gray it was underneath or is underneath, then it creates a gradation, but not a real sharp gradation. I did use a little bit of darker yellow to accentuate the curvature on the left and right verticals, but I'm going to leave it at that for now and go on to the high gloss finish. And for that, I'm really going to leave just, even though I'm rendering it as kind of a pink tube, I'm going to leave that very sharp highlight down through the middle of that tube. A little extra marker left and right to really accentuate the kind of tubular form of the concept. And then from there, I'm not going to show it really as a tube that's full at the moment. So just for the sake of this exercise, I'm going to render it as a maybe a empty tube. Maybe this is the way it comes off of the production line. And but I am going in, you can see how the areas that were shaded essentially with the original pink application, I'm going in on top of that with the second or third coat to darken it up, to emphasize the fact that there is some dimension, there is a hollow void behind that cap. And I'll eventually do the same with the yellow as well. But right now I'm going on to look at how I can imply, in this case, I'm going to go for more of a chrome plated finish on this cap. So I would recommend getting references off of the web, Google Images again. I've made that suggestion several times, but look for chrome pipe, chrome tubing, and you'll see that with chrome, there is a high contrast that occurs with the reflection and the light highlights on the tube itself. So you can directly lift that, apply it to your application here with this lid, and what will make it ultimately sing will be things like highlights that we will put on right at the end. So right now you can see that the marker work doesn't look particularly, it's not tight. I mean, I'm trying to be as tight as I can as I apply it. I want to be as neat as possible. But at the same time, there's not a whole lot of definition. And that's all going to occur at the end when we go in with final line weight and we define. You'll see as we go along, I'll even define the highlight areas with a pen stroke. And that's, again, more or less a stylistic thing, but it also helps bring some crispness, some precision to the rendering, to the sketch, that really helps make it look like a produced product, a believable product. So that goes back to the implied realism that we talk about, right? We want to maintain that even in a concept sketch. We want people to believe that this could be real, or maybe it is real, but they don't know that yet, right? They're envisioning this as their own product. Speaking for your client, that's what they want to. That's what they want to see. They want to see, is this a product that can be in my product line? Is this a product that can represent my company? And so even all of these early concept sketches help go into selling your design, and that's ultimately part of our job. Is we have to get in there and we have to sell. The only way to do that is going to be with convincing concept sketches. This is what I was referring to, right? I'm going back in. You can see all of my highlights and lowlights are being defined with a pen stroke, just to crisp it up a little bit. I've gone back in with the French curve and added some lines of definition. So now I'm creating that void again, as I did on the right hand side, bringing that over. And I think it helps reinforce the fact that there's an element of realism behind this. So here's the French curve again, and just pulling the French curve out and tightening up a few strokes. We're getting kind of close to the end of these sketches, and now we just want some more final definition and crispness. There's a few kind of marker areas that have bled over, a few pen strokes that maybe were not as accurate that I can tighten up. Here goes the white Prismacolor pencil with some highlights, and I'll do that really on anywhere the parts meet, right? So if it's the flip cap to the main cap, or the main cap to the tube itself, I'll try to throw on some highlights. This is actually rendered a little bit light, so the white doesn't show up quite as well, but it will on the other side, on the shiny chrome lid. We'll put some nice highlights on that. It's really just a matter of cleaning things up. That's all it is. And it's always the same. Whether it's like a fully rendered sketch as these are, or even if it's just line weight, and we talk about working in layers, you just come in at the end, you tighten it up with some heavier marker strokes, and there it is. It makes all the difference in the world, and it really makes your work look very professional. So maybe you'll notice on the bottom of these lids too. I say lids, I mean caps. There is a little shadow line where the radius of that cap would roll under and really touch the tabletop, or the surface that it's resting on, and that's really a good standard. It's just like adding a highlight. It's adding a low light where a shadow would occur between two surfaces. So you can throw that into your sketch, and that will help things as well. And then in this case, it's also defined with another pen stroke as well. The black pencil was an attempt to get a little bit of gradation, more gradation than we can achieve with just the marker itself. And I didn't really want to go too far with that because I was pretty pleased with where the sketch had ended up to begin with, and I didn't want to overwork it, which is a tendency for people that really, strive for perfection. Is, you know, you got to know when to stop, and it is about the efficiency, as I talk about all the time. So, as long as you get your message communicated well, then that's all we can hope for. A little final cleanup, and really, that's it. I hope you enjoyed that. Hope that helped. Matt and Glossy.